Hi, my name is Cameron Brown. I'm a composer, arranger, pianist, as well as an educator. The reason why I'm creating this channel is because I wanted to show my journey as a living composer, the behind the scenes of how, as a composer, I go from concept to finished product. And the reason why I thought about this was because as a pianist, I would often sit back and play the music of other composers, especially composers that are past. So that's your typical Bach, Beethoven, Chopin, Brahms, Mozart, Gershwin. And thinking back about how we don't really have too much of a recorded means for how these composers came about their masterpieces. Each of these composers were phenomenal in their line of work, and hence the reason why they were like wanted by so many people in their society at the time. But being able to just, it would be cool if I could just have that opportunity to just sit there and pluck one of their brains and just listen to like how they did something, how they came up with the beats, the process that they did before, and things like that. um, you know, that was something that really stuck out to me. And just thinking back about this day and age, like, one of the advantages that we have today in 2026 versus, 1826, uh, is we have technology, or better yet, computer electronics. So we can actually preserve our history a lot easier, because in a sense you can actually hear these details coming from the horse's mouth. So as Chopin might not necessarily have sat down and recorded in journaling detail by hand, like how he came up with the concept of this waltz or this nocturne, or how Bach could have sat down and talked to you about the idea of why he created these fugues the way that he did them, um, why he had the well-tempered clavier, all these things. It's like even just being able to pluck George Gershwin's mind about how he practically came up with Rhapsody in Blue on the fly for orchestra and piano. It's like just being able to understand those things from the horse's mouth would have been really great. But because we don't, I kind of wanted to do my job, my part in basically being able to preserve that kind of history, and what it would be like if you were to talk to a living composer today about what their process is. So being able to talk about why you chose this instrumentation, why you chose this register, this tempo, all those things, like even addressing my music through a theoretical standpoint. Like I love music theory, being able to share like what I do through music theory. I enjoy that a lot. So that's why I also wanted to be able to like create this channel. Um, but the real big deal is I wanted to be able to broadcast this through my album that I'm coming up with. So that's the opportunity that I'm going to use. The album that I'm creating is basically an arrangement of hymns or church songs that I grew up on. Um, like growing up in the AME church, I was exposed to hymnals. And not only that, just being able to sing in the choir through, elementary school up through high school and college, just being exposed to music like for, almost 2 decades of my life and things like that, like over 2 decades of my life. It's just being able to like, share um, what I have gravitated to for so long, and just being able to share that in my own special way. That is the reason why I'm also doing this channel. So you get to see the behind the scenes of an album from start to finish. So some of the music has already been created, but I can still run through the process of what I did. And as well, being able to give like, piano practice tips, composition setups. And on one thing I wanted to share before is that basically it's not a one size fits all when it comes down to creativity. So the things that I do as a composer might not necessarily work for every composer, but this is just basically how my brain works. And speaking of how my brain works, I also wanted to detail how this will work as someone with ADHD. So as a composer with ADHD, sometimes, and especially practicing piano, sometimes the things that I do can become very difficult because my brain doesn't always sit still. So being able to say that I'm going to work on Great is Thy Faithfulness today, and then I want to work on something that doesn't even deal with the project that I'm working on. Like I might want to do an arrangement of something on pop tunes or like some kind of pop artist um, that has nothing to do with what I'm working on. And that's sometimes the distraction. That's the trick sometimes when it comes down to being able to uh, work through something consistently. So being able to share that sometimes my projects don't always become consistent, especially like scheduling wise. Uh, you know, not only just with working like composing music, but also being able to show you like I said, as a pianist, as a teacher, as an educator, how composers kind of move on a day-to-day basis outside of just being able to sit still at their office and just write work. What are some of the insides um, of our profession? So if you have any kind of interest in learning how composition works, and it's not just about classical music, it could be about jazz, it could be about pop songs, it could even be about hip hop. So again, it's like, not being able to ask Bach, I don't have the opportunity to ask somebody that I look up to, like Jay Dilla, who created many great beats during his lifetime for a lot of cool artists in the music industry, especially in the hip hop world. Um, you don't have these people that you can actually sit down with anymore and talk to. So if you have any interest, um, also please feel free to drop like comments in the section, in the comment section. Uh, Things that you might want to know a little bit more about. Like I also do like song breakdowns, piece breakdowns, all that kind of stuff. So if you're trying to like understand certain pieces of music inside and out, feel free to reach out to me and I'll do my best to get back to you. But I hope everyone enjoys. And until the next time, see you.